And Mr. Speaker, D, ensure that the committees submit reports as required by these standing orders. Mr. Speaker, because this is part of their mandate, can the chair, Mr. Speaker, if it is possible, can the chair, Mr. Speaker, communicate to this House and tell us how he has allocated these committees time to respond or to report from their benchmarking, Mr. Speaker, so that when I know, Mr. Speaker, my committee will report on this day, or a committee on health is reporting on this day, I can avail myself, Mr. Speaker, so that I can also know the experience of to do this. Therefore, I request, if it is possible, Mr. Speaker, you communicate or they direct the dates when they are going to give their reports, Mr. Speaker.
Chair Liason, who said yes, you can. Something we had been discussing and we have talked severally, so please.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I want to agree more with the Honorable James Ondari that we have been speaking about reports. And in the liaison, we have brought this to the attention of the chairpersons of committees, and they are all aware, except the committee for underway. I would want to request that all the chairpersons of committees make it on the benchmarking that have been done so far, because I know in this financial year, we have benchmarkings, the one which was ending yesterday, and the other which happened around 2 weeks ago. So I want to expect that we will be able to. But I want to say that it will be very difficult for us to approve to go for the next benchmarking if they do not submit the previous reports. And I want you to give me a moment to read a message of condolence to one of the county, and who also happens to work with us from time to time when we do our cancer sports. Redemptor Asira, until her death last week, was the county coordinator for emergency medical services, died of cardiovascular accident after short illness. House as the nurse who has always accompanied the members and attended to honorable members and staff of Kisii County game that happened in Nakuru. Redemptor was there. She was with us during the games, and she has left behind 2 children. One is called Wayne, who is 15 years, who is 12 years, studying at Kakamega Hill High School, headed to grade 8 in the next year. We want to ask the members that they join the family and stand with the kids during these difficult moments, and also report that today they're having a fundraiser that's happening today. So if you are able to attend after the assembly, or you're able to send your contribution, it will be really a Redemptor will be buried this Thursday on 2nd at their home in Isoge in Borabu, which is at the scheme. May her rest. To ask the members that if you have a contribution to make, you do so, and those that can be able to join the family, you are welcome to do so. May her soul rest in eternal peace.
Oh, my sincere condolences to the staff. We had in Nakuru, she was with us. So for any contribution, I think it is good that you person where we can channel the contribution to assist the funerals. Honorable Mbasa.
Thank you. I rise to inquire an issue that concerns the NHIF. Recently, and I found that my account was in arrears. We get salary, it's supposed to be deducted automatically so that my status is updated. I do not know whether I'm the only one that's in arrears, and that means that should I go to hospital, I'll have a big challenge, because then that personnel to expedite and look into that issue so that we don't run into a problem. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of the Board. I can confirm that we do submit all the relevant
attending most of these meetings online. Therefore, the steps that we have made, I'll also tell you, and thanks for your permission, I was able to be one of the presenters at the CRA, that is on Friday, and also give you the progress of what is happening with the CRA. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, we have an achievement that we have been able to win on the issue of the car reimbursement. The issue of the taxation, we had gone to court, raised it in court, and the court was able to rule in our favor. Therefore, going forward, Mr. Speaker, we will not be taxed on car reimbursement. So therefore, the memo is coming to you, if it has not come in, to communicate the same for the county assemblies which had not received the money, and for the ones that have received the money, there is no giving back tax. Mr. Speaker, another thing that has been a headache to a lot of the county assemblies was the issue of CRA. We are getting very many circulars from SRC and other bodies, government bodies, with the same ceilings, Mr. Speaker. For example, the salaries were reviewed recently, but the CRA has not been able to actually top up our ceilings, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, this was a very important discussion that we had to go down there, and the CRA is being very cooperative. They have agreed that they are going to support us, that even as the circulars come in, you know, the circulars came in after the budget had already been passed from the National Assembly. But we had an agreement that they will have another sitting and find out a better way of covering up, because already the expenses, that we had done a budget for the whole year when the circulars were coming in. So we agreed that we are going to sit down and we are going to work on it. The advice we also got from CRA is the advice on pending bills. They actually advised that the assembly pending bills, that's not the executive, the assembly pending bills should actually be worked on within the year. We should be able to clear all the pending bills of the assembly when it comes to gratuity and all that, because it's in that financial year. Because now they don't add to the ceilings on the next year. They said we should be able to work on it and work on it promptly. We spoke about our non-partisan staff, Mr. Speaker, and we spoke about the allocations that we have been given as the members of the county assembly. And we pleaded with the CRA to work it out, because the three staffs that we have been given are actually not well paid because of the money that is allocated to the assemblies. Therefore, we have agreed that we'll have a sitting and actually work on a good model of ensuring that the allocations are enough, including the mileage allowances, Mr. Speaker. We will have a review of it from SRC, and actually it's going to be worked on from CRA. Finally, we actually asked for the relaxation of rules for the staff. We, as a county assembly, we are given a maximum number of staff we are supposed to have. That depends on the members of the county assembly. But you find that sometimes we need special skills. We need, for example, an engineer or a special skill. They say they will do a relaxation, but only for one person. The person we bring in as a special skill should not actually accommodate more staff, because when they do relaxations for us, we have a chance of bringing in more staff and all that. So they say that we can bring in, they can leave a leeway for that, but we also don't come with issues of having a secretary, a clerk, and all that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and those are the few responses.
Thank you for the update. And congratulations, I saw you were rewarded. Thank you. Next order. Yes, you can.
Mr. Speaker, I also say congratulations to Wari because he's doing a good job. We are not going to be taxed again for our car reimbursement. But I want to inquire from Mr. Speaker. I'm a member of the Second Assembly. We were given 2 million as car grant, Mr. Speaker, but we paid 621 as taxes, Mr. Speaker. Is it going to work retrospectively? So that, Mr. Speaker, they can also, the county assembly can make sure we are refunded
That one.
what went away.
Honorable Ndari, that one, because I sit in the CAF, I can also answer this. That's not the case. It will not happen like that, because where, and you see even the names are different. This one is called car reimbursement, and the other one was a grant, so whatever. But where they started is from the car reimbursement. I think that one should be very clear. Although now, you have given us another task to go and find out if it is possible. But I think the more important thing, we need to push it is about our pension of the honorable members. It is more viable than the others, other issues. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, naming of roads and streets in all major towns in Kisii County by Honorable Lilian Gore.
Yes, Honorable Lilian Gore, you can move your motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Before I go to the motion, allow me to express my sympathies and regret to what Honorable Karen has raised over the issue of the hospital. On behalf of the board, we regret the ordeal and make the promise that we are going to check further and just to make sure that no other honorable members are experiencing the same. What we have as a deal with the service providers is that you expect efficient service until the end. And we have also put measures in place to make sure that there will be no lapse. And that's why you correctly reported that we have already advertised for that particular facility. So we regret your experience and we hope and pray that no other honorable members is exposed to that. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move a motion that, aware that Kisii County is fast growing with a rich diversity of cultures, languages, traditions as manifested by residents residing in its major towns drawn from all tribes in the country. Further aware that addressing or naming of roads, places, buildings, and land is recognized world over as an essential tool for economic and social development. Addressing is largely founded on history, culture, tradition, and other localized practices in any given nation. It makes it possible to identify the location of a dwelling on the ground using a system of maps and signs that give the numbers or names of streets and buildings, especially in urban networks and services. Moreover, it is a primary means to identify and locate unique objects, showing where people live, work, do business, and getting services. Nevertheless, addressing identifies a site of a special object and allows for understanding of and ability to navigate between addresses. Acknowledging that Section 9(1) of Urban Areas and Cities Act number 13 of 2011 is complemented by Section 72 of Interpretations and General Provisions Act Chapter 2 and other enabling provisions of the law, the municipalities of Kisii and Ogembo were granted charters of municipal status whose cardinal objects were to provide for efficient and accountable management of affairs of the municipalities. Appreciating that the government has put in place municipal boards to ensure provision of services to its residents, impose such fees, levies, and charges as may be authorized by the county government for delivery of services by municipalities, promote constitutional values and principles, ensure the implementation and compliance with policies formulated by both the national and county government, and ensure participation of residents in decision-making, concerned that roads, streets, buildings remain largely unaddressed due to lack of an existing county policy and legislative framework. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, this Assembly resolved that the municipal boards, the managers, and Ministry of Culture, Youth, Sport, and Social Protection, and any other relevant state departments in collaboration with the county governor to initiate measures to identify the roads, streets, and buildings in major town in Kisii County, to name them for location purposes, to spur economic, social development of our county. Honorable Speaker, it will be easy to wonder, why would it be possible? What is the reason behind our naming? The whole concept is that we want to reignite the discussion around our heritage. It is possible that young people, or we who sit here as parents, have children that probably walk these streets and do not know significant names in our history. Naming of these particular zones will give us an identity, a sense of identity. Naming of roads and streets will give the people of Bonchari a privilege to remember their son, Henry Motego, who has practiced football at international level and little recognition within the county. We are aware that President Uhuru did give a title to that significant individual, but the county also has a role. We also know that the people of Ogetutu have the great Chief Ngiti, whose wife, Morang Ngiti, was able to nurture very well his nephew, Otenyo, and he is remembered significantly in historical books. Honorable Speaker, we also have legendary athletes or Olympians in various places, and we would be very saddened not to remember the people like Helen Obiri, Yobe Sondieki, Nyandika Mayoro, people who have significantly contributed internationally. When we go forward and make this motion a significant piece of legislation, the committee that shall be formed will be given a privilege to sit and make discussion and identify these significant names and name our roads, our buildings, and streets after those very individuals. The Act also allows us to be able to set up a committee that discusses that, but primarily it is the board of the municipal board that will go forward to do this. I therefore submit this motion and kindly request Honorable Obare to second the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On the onset, I wish to congratulate Honorable Lillian Gore for coming up with this very important motion of naming our roads. Before I second the motion, I also wish to rectify her that Henry Motego comes from Bobasi Boitangare in Bobasi and not Bonchari. Honorable Speakers, Lillian has outrightly outlined, naming of our roads will make it easier, even for identification and for navigation within Kisii town. Without belaboring the points that have been put forward, I wish to second this motion.
Thank you, Honorable Bale, for seconding that important motion. Honorable members, I now propose a question aware that the Kisii County is fast growing with a rich diversity of culture, languages, and traditions as manifested by residents residing in its major towns, drawn from all tribes in the country. Further aware that addressing or naming of roads, places, buildings, lands is recognized well over as an essential tool for economic and social development. Addressing is largely founded on history, culture, traditions, and other localized practices in any given nation. It makes it possible to identify the location of a dwelling on the ground using a system of maps and signs that gives the number and the names of streets and buildings, especially in urban networks and services. Moreover, it is a primary means to identify and locate unique objects showing where people live, works, do business, and getting services. Nevertheless, addressing, identifying the sites of spatial objects and allows for understandings of and ability to navigate between addresses. Acknowledging that Section 9, subsection 1 of Urban Areas and the Cities Act number 13 of 2011, as complemented by Section 72 of the Interpretations and the General Provisional Act, Chapter 2, and other enabling provisions of law, the municipality of Kisii and Ogembo were granted charters of municipal status, whose cardinal object was to provide for efficient and accountable management of affairs of the municipalities. Honourable members, appreciating that the government has put in place municipal bodies to ensure provisions of services to residents, impose such fees, levies, and charges as may be authorized by the county government for the delivery of services by the municipalities. Promote constitutional values, principles, ensure the implementation and compliance with the policies formulated by both the national and the county governments, and ensure participation of residents in decision making. Concerned that roads, streets, and buildings remains largely unaddressed due to lack of an existing county policy and the legislative framework, which of course as the Assembly we need to put in place. And it is part of our role, honorable members. Now, therefore, the Assembly resolves that the municipal boards, the manager and the Minister of Culture, Youth, Sports and Social Protection, and any other relevant state departments, in the collaboration with the county governor, to initiate measures to identify the roads, streets, buildings in the major towns in Kisii County, to name them for location purposes as per economic and social development of our county. Honourable members, it is important to appreciate that, and now it is time that to deliberate on the issue of the motion, and then we get the solution for the same. You are welcome. Honourable Mombasa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. First and foremost, I wish to congratulate Honorable Lillian Gore for the motion she has brought before the House, and which I support. I support it because it's a good motion. Honorable Speaker, names of places or streets, people have been given names of streets or places because of the achievements that they made. People that we remember today, and elsewhere, away from Kisii County, we have places which have been named after people so that we are able to remember them and the achievements that they made. For instance, we have Tomboya Labour College in Kisumu. Tomboya Labour College was named after Tomboya because of the achievements of the late Tomboya, who was a brilliant Kenyan during the time that he was alive. We have Moi International Airport, courtesy of our late president. We have Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and many others. Honorable Speaker, this is because we wish to remember these people who played a big role in the running of the affairs of this country. Honorable Speaker, this thing of naming places or did not begin recently. King Alexander the Great used to conquer cities and named them after himself. He did not name them after other people, he used to name them after himself because I think he wished to be remembered. A city like Alexandria is named after him. So it is an old thing. And within our county, Honorable Speaker, we shall do a lot of service if we named our streets or places remembering our great heroes. If I can quote someone like George Mosetianyona. George Mosetianyona, when he was a member of parliament, he played a big role as a member of parliament and for what he did. We have people like Musa Nyandusi, senior chief. Those are great people within our county that we can name streets or roads after. We have Nyantika Mayoro.
I know in Mombasa we know them.
Yes.
So just be
All right.
so that we can give others time too.
Yeah,
we know all those our leaders.
I thought you did not know. So thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And even when we ourselves may not have roads or places named after us, it's upon us also to do well when we lead so that we shall be remembered, even when we shall not have roads or places named after us. So I wish to stop there, Honorable Speaker, so that others can contribute. Thank you for your time. I support.
Honorable Minority Leader. Put it off, Honorable Mbasa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to support this very important motion by Honorable Lillian Anyang Okor, also is a commissioner for this house. Mr. Speaker, I know this motion has been with us in the House Business Committee for some time, and I am glad that, Speaker, you allowed this to come. Mr. Speaker, one of the professors who taught me, Professor Osaga Odak, a very renowned professor in material culture in the University of Nairobi. I don't know whether he's still alive. I haven't heard from him of late. Said that any community that does not preserve the artifacts of that community, it will not prosper. Mr. Speaker, this is to say that to borrow so much from exotic cultures, it does not make us grow. And also, Mr. Speaker, if you, Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, formerly used to be called James Ngugi, he later changed his name to Ngugi wa Thiong'o. He has written a lot of books, among them The River Between and the others that we have read in this country. He is also saying, there is one he has written about decolonizing the mind, a very motivating book, Mr. Speaker. What he's saying is that he's encouraging communities to study their own languages. Like him, he has written a very good book in Kikuyu language. And I'm hoping that my friend Sonia Ondari will write a book in Kisii soon. And Mr. Speaker, I have heard my friends are quoting Kimathi Street in Nairobi, where you see the statue there, also Tom Mboya, who has done a lot of things for this country. Mr. Speaker, why I support this motion is to enable this county to study and come up with people who have done a lot of things for this community, Mr. Speaker. Even I was listening this morning that Prince Charles and Camilla are in Kenya, and there are a number of cases who have gone to ask for the head of Tenyo to be brought. I was seeing it in news, Mr. Speaker. Otenyo is one of the people who fought for independence. And since then, we have had people who have contributed immensely to the growth of the Kisii community. The first logical people from Kisii, like the late Mzee Lawrence Saginindemo, who comes from Monyero Ward. We have had people like Simon Yachai, who have contributed. We have people like Jared Kangwana, who built the first mall in Nairobi, the one that is in Westlands there. And he was also the founding banker for this one of the famous banks here in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, we also have people from my own community. The first man to be paramount chief, my grandfather, Mzee Angwenyi Kingoina. He fought with the laws at Mangadea, and they wanted to shrink our space. There is also the first chief from my place, Onsongo, and also Oga Kingoina and Sakari Kirero Oga. The person, Mr. Speaker, who reduced the dowry from 18 cows to 6 because the young men at that time were not able to marry. So we have, and then, Mr. Speaker, we can come to the first speaker of this assembly, Speaker Kerosio Ndieki, the second speaker, and now you. Mr. Speaker, we are going to give you a street in this town, not in Ogembo, because you have contributed immensely. And now the second point, Mr. Speaker, apart from the artifacts, I wanted to say how this motion is important. It's a business one. Mr. Speaker, the municipalities, Kisii and Ogembo, they are going to identify the streets. And they will say, for those who may want to be named, yeah, they can put a tag of 2 million shillings, for example, or even 5. So the municipality will raise money because there are those people who can pay to have their streets names after them. So that is a business side of this motion that I am looking at. The second, Mr. Speaker, business point is like now we are going to have, for example, Dr. Philip Nyanumba Street. We need to have a statue that is made from South Mogrango, the stone. The person who are going to draw that, Mr. Speaker, you will pay them for them to bring that here. And those people are going to get good business, Mr. Speaker, because we are not going to just name the streets. We're also going to bring statues that are going to reflect those people. So, Mr. Speaker, apart from the social aspect of identifying our people, of identifying our culture, there is also the business side of it. And Mr. Speaker, also, some of the countries you have gone to, recently, my chairman, Naftali Nkoba, took us to Arusha in Tanzania. And we were seeing some street names, some of them we could not pronounce, Mr. Speaker. And the people who are coming to Kisii cannot now identify which streets we are, the main street, the hospital street, and the others. Also, where we come from, like for example, in Marani, which soon will become a municipality, Mr. Speaker. So I'm saying this is a very important motion, Mr. Speaker. But now, lastly, my recommendation on this one is that we will have to set the county team that will work on this. Then, Mr. Speaker, we also have to have sub-county teams that will be led by maybe the sub-county administrator and the chair of culture and other people, so that they can identify important people and important institutions to be named after the streets. So, Mr. Speaker, honestly, I want to support this motion, and it's going to make a lot of sense for us. And I want to urge
Honorable Nyanumba, we also have the first governor of this county. We should name even one stadium after him. Honorable James Omaribungwai. If we also go to Ogembo, we should name one street Joash Maangi, because he comes from there and he was the first governor. When we come to Kisii town or any other stadium or any other hospital, we can also name it Simbarati Stadium. Mr. Speaker, I was also the first chief whip of this assembly. You can also decide to name one after Honorable Muracha. So, Mr. Speaker, and also we don't have a stadium. When you go to Homa Bay, we have a very good stadium by the name Raila Amolo Odinga Stadium. We can also decide, since Ruto is the president, we decide and name one stadium, Ruto International Stadium. And when it comes to Kisii, we task him that we have a stadium here, but the stadium looks horrible. Can you build this stadium for us? And for sure, we will build it to an international standards. So I'm asking members of the both political divide that let us not politicize this thing. Let us have an objective, and Mr. Speaker, let us handle it carefully. We give a technical team to do a good job, and the motion, we can even ask the team to give all the shops around Kisii town specific numbers, and even we go to Ogembo, Marani, they'll be given for easy collection of revenue, Mr. Speaker. So this motion is a good one, and it has come at the right time. I really support it and ask all members of this assembly to support this motion unconditionally. Thank you, Speaker.
Honorable Ngoba, I think you have not.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance also to air my views concerning this motion that has been brought by Honorable Lillian Gore. And I want to say from the onset that I'm supporting this motion 100%. And I want to say this motion is long overdue. And before I proceed, Honorable Speaker, allow me also to convey my message of condolences to the family of our able nurse who has been working with us tirelessly. And may God give the family peace of mind during this time of mourning. Honorable Speaker, secondly, insurance is part and parcel of the welfare of the honorable members, and therefore those people who are concerned, they should ensure that there is no gap. Each and every time an honorable member visits a health care facility should be treated with a lot of concern. Honorable Speaker, you know, it's important to note that street names help us to figure out where we are, talk about where we have been, and also ascertain whether we are headed to the right direction. And this is, of course, true both literally and figuratively. In naming our streets, Honorable Speaker, we need to look at the history of our county, our community, the Kisii. We also need to look at, Honorable Speaker, the prominent leaders, and also look at the events and culture in naming our streets. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that in ensuring that this motion becomes law and be followed, we form an ad hoc committee that will sit and ensure that there is proper guidance on the names that will be identified naming those streets. And this one should involve the governor, the ministers, the honorable members, the boards of the municipalities, and the technical teams in ensuring that we have proper names. Honorable Speaker, through this House, once this motion becomes law, you allow this Honorable House to also allocate municipality. Honorable Speaker, Also the buildings, as Honorable Moracha has said, most of our buildings do not have names or numbers. So let us use this opportunity to ensure that every building in this town has either a name or a number for easy identification. And therefore, when you tell somebody that you are in Street A, you are also able to tell that person that in Street A, House B, or House C. Honorable Speaker, I support this motion 100%. Thank you.
Honourable members, allow me to give the chair sports because he's giving his condolences to the nurse who participated in CASA, at the same time to contribute to Honourable Richmond.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First of all, I would like to convey my condolences on behalf of my committee for the loss of the nurse whom we worked with during the last CASA games which were held in Nakuru. Honorable Speaker, it's so sad for us to lose such a young parent who has left behind very wanting children who are going to school. And Honorable Speaker, it's so sad, and that I could like the honorable members actually to stand with the family at this time of sorrow. So, Honorable Speaker, I think on behalf of the committee, I could like to request the Honorable Deputy Speaker to maybe receive contributions to from any member who may be willing to condole with the family. So, honorable members, kindly you can channel your contributions to the Deputy Speaker, whom in return will submit the same to the family. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, coming back to the motion, I stand to support it. But Honorable Speaker, to see as from the Department now of Culture, Social Services, Sports and Arts. Honorable Speaker, before we plan on how we are going to rename the streets and whichever, because at any given time in the near future, we may also the same to apply to our heroes and heroines who have contributed massively to our nation building. Honorable Speaker, from the department, we need to have policies. As we speak, Honorable Speaker, there are some policies the executive, or rather the minister, is working on. I think this one has come at the right time, so that I think in the next 2 or 3 weeks, they could have concluded with the policies. They will be tabled here for deliberations. And then in return, I think we'll enjoy this, because on several occasions, it's important, think again, we have to say that it has come at the right time, because there are some visitors who come to our town, they don't know where the direction is, also the buildings. So, Honorable Speaker, for this, I support it, but again, we need to work on the policies first before we come into renaming. So, Honorable Speaker, I support as we await, and I think, Honorable Speaker, because there is no honorable member who is against this, then you can as well put a question, we move to the next item as we await for the policies. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Sam. Honorable Richmond, just put it off.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the chance as well to give my input. I would stand here to say that the motion is long overdue, so I take this opportunity to thank Sister Lillian Gold, Honorable Lillian Gold. This motion is very important at this time because when we name the streets, and even the buildings, we give them names and we give them numbers, and navigation becomes easy and the location becomes easy. And one more thing is that we can give a building a name, but all the businesses that are in that building will be given numbers. So for easy location, it makes everything easy. It becomes difficult to give somebody like direction to find a certain location because for sure we don't have numbers or names which are really clearly spelled out. So this will help people and in navigation and finding places. For example, in the developed countries, like Mr. Dala can attest to that, like in the US, it's very easy to know where you're going. The roads are given numbers, like for example, 394 east, west, south, north, 169 south, north, Nathan Lane, for example. So it becomes so easy, somebody can tell you, come all the way 169 south up to Nathan Lane, then you take a right or a left on Nathan Lane. So these things will help us, and for sure, it's okay to remember our heroes. We can name the names of our heroes who contributed immensely to our economy and our culture and heritage, but yet it's very important in our business today. Thank you. So I support.
Honorable Ndali.
Mr. Speaker, I don't want to take a lot of time, but I want to say you keep your word. Mr. Speaker, when we were in the House Business Committee, you promised my aunt, Honorable Goal, that once we have opened this session, Mr. Speaker, or once we come back from recess, our motion on the naming of our roads and streets will be the first item, Mr. Speaker, and you have done it. And thank you very much, because now my aunt will sleep well, and even my uncle will be happy, because, Mr. Speaker, our wish has been granted. Mr. Speaker, I don't have to say much, but a motion can now produce an act of this county assembly, so that, Mr. Speaker, we do not misuse the powers which we shall be given of naming streets and even roads. We must now have an act which must come from the Department of Culture and Social Services, because I've heard the saying about policies. Let's have an act which will give us guidelines on how we are going to do the naming, because the naming will never end today. We shall die and leave this world here. The generations which will come, Mr. Speaker, later will be using those guidelines to make sure they are naming our streets and even roads, Mr. Speaker. And I know it has not been done only here in Kisii, because they have done it in Nakuru, in Nairobi, in Mombasa, in Kisumu, they have done it. We can refer to what they have been doing, Mr. Speaker, so that we come up with a legislation which can allow us to do things the right way, Mr. Speaker. And lastly, I want to say, Mr. Speaker, when we shall be naming those roads and even streets, at least if we are going to use the names of people, Mr. Speaker, they must have done some unique thing, or they must have contributed to the community something which is being remembered over a period of time, Mr. Speaker. It's not just giving names, Mr. Speaker, but somebody who has contributed in one way or another to the community, Mr. Speaker. I said I don't want to take time, if it's possible, Mr. Speaker, because I see we have contributed. If you can put a question, but it is at your own disposal, Mr. Speaker.
Just for a few minutes, Honorable Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I could also wish to support the motion by Honorable Ririan Gol. And I believe once we name or we give names to our back streets in town, automatically what I believe this one will extend to our small towns. For example, Musocho, Suneka, Ogembo. So it is an important motion which we need to support all of us as honorable members. At the same time, I wish this one happens almost immediately under the regime of the Governor, Honorable Simbarati, in order for him to shine as the heir. And I stand to support 100%. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, having listened to all of you, to your contributions, before I proceed, I want the chair culture to get what I'm saying. I want to elect the chair culture to find out the logistics, because it was not a paper, it is a motion which we are going to agree, all of us. But we must get the logistics, whether it is the technical team, whether it is the act, whether it is the ad hoc committee, but chair, your committee must give us the report over the same and the way we are going to move with this important motion. Otherwise, honorable members, I now put a question, aware that the Kisii County is fast growing with the rich diversity of culture, languages, and traditions as manifested by residents residing in its major towns, drawn from all tribes in the country, or rather in the county. Further aware that addressing or naming of the roads, places, buildings, and lands is recognized all over as an essential tool for economic and social development. Addressing this is largely founded on history, culture, tradition, and other localized practices in any given nation. It makes it possible to identify the location of a dwelling on the ground using a system of maps and signs that gives the number or the names of streets and buildings, especially in urban networks and services. Moreover, it is a primary means to identify and locate unique objective, showing where people live, works, do business, and getting services. Nevertheless, identifying the size of the spatial objective and allows for understanding of and ability to navigate between addresses. Acknowledging that Section 9(1) of the Urban Areas and the Cities Act, number 13 of 2011, as complemented by Section 72 of the Interpretation and General Provision Act, Chapter 2, and other enabling provisions of law, the municipality of Kisii and Ogembo were granted charters of municipal status, whose key objectives were to provide for efficient, accountable management of the affairs of the municipalities. Appreciating that, honorable members, the government has put in place municipal boards to ensure provision of services to its residents, both surgery fees, levies, and charges, as may be authorized by the county government for delivery of services by the municipalities. Promote constitutional values, principles, and ensuring the implementation and compliance with the policies formulated by both the national and the county governments, and ensure participation of the residents in decision making. Concerned with that, honorable members, roads and streets and buildings remains largely unaddressed due to lack of existing county policy and legislative framework. Now, therefore, the Assembly resolved that the municipal boards, the managers and the Ministry of Culture, Youth, Sports and Social Protection and any other relevant state departments in the cooperation with the county governor to initiate measures to identify the roads, streets, buildings in the major towns in Kisii County, to name them for location purposes, for spatial economic and socio-economic, socio-development of our county. As many are of the same opinion, say aye. As many of the contrary opinion say nay. The aye have it. Next order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we have exhausted the business of the day.
The House is adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, 1st, 2023 at 9.
Order. Disappear from here.
Monchomuri mwega yogokora igikaro gia assembly ya Kisii gitukuria rero se mwega yokwana asumutuko wa egekego gitukuria rero ndio bere tukuritangani mwega yokwana kurwa ase ogutimuka na anene muno gukwanira amangana abere atatu ase assembly ya Kisii county wikira boniga the afternoon session as a county MCAs we county ya Kisii bane kwa bago kwanira ti ya amangana abira tutugesa twa berenire ase gikaro kyo mutimoko omoke ingane ne yaringi tukuria rero ni yaringi igoro yuko kwanira igoro yuko kwena na murieta ocha ase chipara amone chi street ose chipara mone chinchara echikotoka ime ye county ya Kisii na gochia ase town au echikotoka ime ye county ya Kisii ane muno tebru na nigore encherene ne engiamo kigima ane muno gocha ase kwana nencherere raisi gocha asaba manyibe county ya Kisii amona bagene bari bagocha ase county ya Kisii ane muno ekero bagweta goseke bata komanya enchera ase bakogenda igo wetiriri chiko rio ritukoria rero ane muno ritukoirwa gocha ase gitamugiro kende rio ritukorigiriro gocha gwetera ase committee iri kwenda na ibagaria bene gocha ko na marieta gocha chipara amone chi street chikotoka ime ye county yiga ya Kisii nyuranga ni wono goikara boniga nigo tokubuterera umuro video yiga igego karitko ya amambia kero chiko kuya nikiria asari tukwendera kurwa ase county assembly ya Kisii no butame nchini ngongo kwenye mto Dennis wasangu tonangiri kukuri kunto udogora sensemo ye chipcha na kone kianga mwana agwochira sentere ya bene ne kuruku Alfred Musa wika boniga no tugokorera giga wika